Yo, what's up? Welcome to Kinda Funny Games Daily for Wednesday, April 28th, 2021. I'm one of your hosts, Blessing Adeoye Jr. Joining me is Tim fucking Yetis.
Let Greg host. I don't often say that,
Oh
Bless,
my
but today
God.
feels like the type of day to necessitate that.
What a day. I'm very excited to talk to you about this, Tim, and a whole bunch of other things. We got no time to waste because it is one of the biggest news days that I can remember in recent memory. So, Tim, let's talk about The Last of Us Part 3 already having a story, a huge year for PlayStation, and Greg Miller is hosting E3 because this is Kinda Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday at 10 a.m. live right here on twitch.tv/kindafunnygames. We run you through the nerdy news you need to know about. If you're watching live, you can correct us when we get stuff wrong by going to kindafunny.com/you're wrong. If you don't want to watch live, you can watch later on youtube.com/kindafunnygames, roosterteeth.com, or you can listen later on podcast services around the globe by searching for Kinda Funny Games Daily. To be a part of the show, to patreon.com/kindafunnygames, where bronze members or above get to write in, and silver members or above get the show ad-free with the exclusive daily post show. Housekeeping for you. We got a new episode of Kinda Funny Gamescast that's up right now. It's our Pokemon Snap review. That's right. Tim has played it. Joey has played it.
New Pokemon Snap, baby.
New Pokemon Snap. You can get their full review right now on youtube.com/kindafunnygames and on podcast services around the globe. Speaking of gaming content you can get on podcast services around the globe, PS I Love You XOXO this week is still coming, so be on the lookout for it when it drops. But make sure to get in your questions. Maybe ask about a PlayStation game that's coming out soon. I don't know, man. Just get in your questions. We'll record the episode and get it up for you when the time is right. And then the next 2 Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific time right here on twitch.tv/kindafunnygames, we're partnering with Razer to show off the RTX 30 series powered Blade laptops. That's going to be with Andy and the boys. They're going to be playing some Warzone, so look forward to that. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Mick at the Nanobiologist, Tom Bach, Trent Berry, and Blackjack. Today we're brought to you by Dr. Squatch, Final Fantasy VII Intergrade, Caviar, and Channel Fireball. But I'll tell you about all of those later. For now, let's begin with what is, and forever will be, the Roper Report. It's time for a lot of news. We have 8 stories today.
Baker's dozen!
That was a really good one, Kevin. The energy was there, which it should be, because again, big news day. We got to get the energy up right now. All right, got to pump those numbers up. Let's start with our number one. E3 has revealed its digital host. This comes from a press release they sent out this morning. E3 has officially enlisted a trio of well-known video game industry personalities to host the all-virtual global event, taking place Saturday, June 12th through Tuesday, June 15th. Greg Miller, Jackie Jing, and Alex Golden Boy Mendez will guide the 4-day broadcast, providing expert-level commentary, publisher and developer interviews, and much more. Tim, how exciting is that?
I can't believe it, man. I feel like I'm about to tear up right now, even getting into this. Greg Miller has been the gold standard of the industry, not only to me, but to so many out there, and has allowed so many different people to live their dreams and to continue to push them. And for Greg to rise the way that he has over the last 10 plus years in the industry is nothing short of beautiful. And to be able to host E3, to be able to be a part of a change in E3, hopefully, from something that we've all talked about for years and had our issues with this way or that way. But for this to be a new step forward and for Greg Miller to be able to host the Christmas of video games is such a beautiful thing that, it doesn't just warm my heart. I feel a chill through my body talking about this. This is the coolest freaking thing as a friend, as a brother, as a coworker, as a video game fan, all of those things. This is incredible. And I am so proud of him. I'm so proud of what he's done. I am extremely excited for this. I think that from what we've heard about this E3 this year, I'm hoping that it is as good as it potentially can be. We're hearing some good news about stuff, about the partners lining up and stuff. And these type of decisions, I mean, there's thought being put into this, right? These are great people. Alex Golden Boy Mendez is the man You know,
Oh,
he
yeah.
is so freaking awesome, and seeing his meteoric rise as well has been nothing short of awe-inspiring. And Jackie Jing's awesome too. I don't know her too well. I've met her a
Yeah,
couple times.
she's very
Extremely
talented.
nice.
She's done a lot of hosting over at IGN, and I believe, I don't want to misspeak, I think she did the Daily Fix. If not, she's done similar types of hosting shows for IGN. And whenever I see her on screen, I'm like, damn, she's actually really good at what she does. And so
Yeah,
she's
she was at
definitely
Nerdist for a bit too.
yeah.
But anyways, you know, not to just make this just all about Greg Miller, but I do want to give a moment for Greg Miller because this is so freaking special and so freaking cool. I mean, blessing. He's hosting E3.
Dude,
What?
it's crazy. And
E3
yeah,
hasn't had a host before.
like you mentioned how crazy it is as like a a brother, a friend, somebody who's known Greg Miller for years. But like for me as a fan, somebody who's followed Greg since probably 2013ish, since IGN, it's been awesome seeing like the I guess the different ways in which him and everybody here at Kinda Funny levels up over the years, from starting your own company, from winning a game award for trending gamer. And, I there are certain points for me as a fan and now as a coworker and co-host where I'm like, what more can you do? It's like that Kanye LeBron commercial. If you remember I think it was like a Nike commercial. No, it was Kobe, where Kanye's in the sitting in the stands and he's like, but what more records can I break? And Kobe's like, more records. It kind of feels like Greg is like, I can do more. I can figure out more ways to get bigger and do more dope shit. And it is so fucking inspiring. He dropped this news on us, I think this morning or last night. And reading the post, I legitimately got like very emotional and almost teared up a bit because I was just like, man, what a fucking, I guess, crazy journey that both like Greg and Kinda Funny have been on. And I feel personally, like from a personal standpoint, this makes me very hyped for E3. I've been very up and down in terms of where my excitement level has been, just because it's been kind of a really weird year for what the ESA has been and what E3 could be. And like,
what it was the last couple of years.
Yeah, and like them announcing the partners for sure went a long way in terms of getting back a bit of faith from me. But this was the announcement for me where I was like, fuck, man. Okay, I'm hyped for E3 now. Like let's freaking go. This is cool.
Yeah, man. I think it's so great. And, obviously we do a lot of navel gazing here at Kinda Funny. But it's because we're proud of what we do and we're proud of each other. And I love the platform that we've built and I love the way that the platform is being used. And I think that having Greg be our representative on E3 stage is so fantastic and is only going to allow us to bring more voices into this show and other shows and to continue to push that and change what the video game industry looks like. There's video games need more forces of positivity like Greg Miller, and I'm very, very, very excited about that. And then of course Jackie and Alex as well. But the Greg thing's pretty personal to me, so I'm very excited about that. Two other things I do want to talk about with this, though, something that's very, very important to me and Greg as we were going through the conversations for this happening, is Greg will not miss any of our reaction content for the press conferences and stuff at E3. So all the best friends out there, don't worry. Greg will be able to do the hosting stuff, and then he's going to join us via Discord call so we can all react to the conferences and all that stuff, which is really exciting. And the other thing is, Kev, can you bring up the tweet that I added here in story number 1?
1 second, yeah.
The best thing, and this is the side of E3 kind of being like, all right, maybe this is a new E3, and I'm kind of stoked about it. If y'all don't remember, infamously, Greg Miller was banned from E3. A couple years ago, and it was an accident, but he was banned from E3, and E3 responded. Kevin, if you can click on to that, the second tweet there.
Oh, that's hilarious.
With this meme, the guy like panicking about what decision to make. One's ban Greg, and one's have him host. I absolutely freaking love it.
That's fantastic. Yeah, congratulations everybody involved. Congratulations again, Jackie Jing, Golden Boy, and Greg Miller. That is fucking fantastic. And yeah, that is a hilarious series of events from and within 2 years getting banned from E3 and now hosting E3. You love to see it. But Tim, enough about that. We got a big old Roper report full of PlayStation news. Can you believe it, Tim? There's a lot of sales reports going on, all right, from both PlayStation and Xbox, and we'll tackle Xbox in a second. But we're gonna start off with back-to-back PlayStation news stories. So let's get into it. Story number 2. The PS5 has shipped 7.8 million units in 5 months. This is James Batchelor at gamesindustry.biz. The launch of the PS5 and a solid lineup for PS4 helped drive a strong year for Sony Corporation. The company released its financial results for the full year ending March 31st, 2020, which shows revenue growth in all but two of its divisions, led as usual by the Game and Network Services segment, which operates PlayStation. Buried within the report, Sony revealed PS5 has shipped 7.8 million units into retail since launching in November. This includes 4.5 million during its launch quarter and 3.3 million in the 3 months ended March 31st. While Sony only reports on shipments into retail, the ongoing sellout of PS5 stock wherever it appears likely makes it safe to say that the full 7.8 million has been sold to consumers. Earlier this month, NPD confirmed it's the best-selling console in US history when looking at lifetime dollar and unit sales for the first 5 months of release. Sony sold 338.9 million games in the past year across the two consoles, up from 276.1 million the previous year. Of these, 58.4 million were first-party, up from 49.2 million in fiscal year 2019. For the next financial year, Sony is forecasting revenues of $26.6 billion for its games division, which would be 9% more than what it achieved this year. Can you believe that, Tim? They're forecasting a 9% increase compared to this previous fiscal year, which is wild. But to pretty much sum all this up, Jeff Keighley had a good tweet that pretty much put it in bullet point form for you. All right, he tweeted out this morning, incredible PlayStation facts and company earnings, 7.8 PS5 sold, 47.6 million PlayStation Plus subscribers, 338 million games sold for the PS4/PS5 in the past year, and then 24.4 billion in gaming revenue in the past year. I should also shout out that the article I just read from was gamesindustry.biz. There's a lot more jam-packed in that article, and there's so many numbers and stuff that I know is boring to read through. And so if you want the full story and more context into what these numbers are, please go over to gamesindustry.biz, give them the click, read the full article. But Tim, wild numbers.
Absolutely wild, man. It's great for the industry. It's great for PlayStation. All of this is fantastic. What I'm super interested in is their expectation that this year is going to be 9% above last year. And that starts getting my gears turning. What does that actually mean? Do they expect to have enough PS5s in the wild this year to substantially increase the amount of software being sold with titles like Ratchet and Clank that we know are going to happen? But an increase would imply that there's going to be some type of things we don't expect, some types of big major games coming later in the year that are going to have high attach rates, right? To really kind of boost those numbers.
Could it be God of War?
It definitely could be.
Is God of War really coming this fiscal year?
I don't think so. And then, fiscal year gets a little bit weird.
That's before next March, pretty much.
So with that, God of War end of next March, not entirely out of the realm of possibility, but also not necessarily expected. I think a fool would bet on that. But in addition to that, though, it doesn't need to be God of War, right? It could be games we don't know about, in addition to things like Horizon actually hitting. And obviously, like I said, Ratchet and Clank's already a guarantee to be coming this year. But the biggest thing is these games are selling this well when there's not that many PS5s in the wild. Having said that, there's a good amount of PS5s in the wild at this point. Like the sell-through rate is extremely high compared to any other console. It's higher
than the PS4, which I think is the thing you should shout out, because the ongoing story we've had and the ongoing comments or replies and all the stuff we see on the internet is people being like, I can't get my hands on a PS5. What is Sony doing? And I definitely feel that, right, in terms of people not being able to get their hands on a next gen console. But you should you should also point out that they are manufacturing these things at a level that has already exceeded the PS4's manufacturing. And so it is a combination of the demand for it just being super high, and that's probably boosted by quarantine and there being an exceeded level of interest for the PS5. But then also with chips and stuff, it seems like they can't, because there has been a chip shortage. It seems like they just can't up the manufacturing fast enough, which has created this bottleneck of people not being able to get the supply for what the demand is. But yeah, when we're talking about the 9% forecasted increase this year, I think we definitely need to point out what the last fiscal year for PlayStation has been, because we're talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake, we're talking about The Last of Us Part 2, we're talking about Ghost of Tsushima, Miles Morales, PS5 hardware sales. We're talking about a lot of games, a lot of big game releases.
That's crazy.
like that, I mean, for what this year is, right? Like Horizon is definitely part of that conversation. Like Horizon is slated for this year, along with God of War, and God of War is one that nobody believes is really going to hit. But Horizon, you imagine, is part of that forecast. Ratchet and Clank is part of that forecast. But I don't think the games we have slated so far for this year in PlayStation makes that 9% increase. Like I'm with you that there has to be more to that story, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, and that's what's exciting. We're only in the end of April now, right? There's a lot more year left for announcements and for releases, both kind of surprises, both like here's an announcement 3 months later a game comes out, or kind of the announcement and way later it's actually coming out. But again, when we're talking about fiscal year, we have all the way to the end of March. It's very interesting to think about, had COVID not happened, had all these shortages not happened, how many units would the PS5 be at? Right? Like it could be utterly ridiculous there, but we can't think about it that way because the reality is this is where we're at. But the reality now is there are enough PS5s in the wild not in the wild, in people's hands, in people's homes, that PlayStation can start counting on some revenue there. And I imagine we're going to start seeing a sticky rate that might not look quite like the Switch because that was crazy, but is going to be more similar to the Switch than the PS4 even, right?
Yeah. I mean, we can add in more context with story number 3, because story number 3 is about how Sony is to invest an additional $183 million into PlayStation exclusives over the next year. So I'm going to pull from Josh Coulson at The Gamer, who writes this. Sony will continue to heavily invest in PlayStation's in-house projects over the coming year and plans to increase its investment in that area by almost $200 million. PlayStation has been big on exclusives for a while now, and their continued success alone is proof that it is set to continue. In fact, as discussed by Sony CFO Hiroki Totoki this week, the plan going forward is to invest even more money in PlayStation's in-house projects. During a call with investors, Totoki revealed Sony plans to up its investment in that area by $183 million over the coming year. Quote, "We intend to increase development personnel and other in-house costs by approximately 20 billion yen, which is $183 million, year on year, as we further strengthen our in-house software," Totoki revealed via VGC. There's a number floating around somewhere, and I can't remember where I saw this number. It was either in an article or maybe it was in a Reset Era post about PlayStation revenue for actual PlayStation money made by PlayStation games being first party and exclusives versus versus money made off of software for the entire platform. And you mentioned that the attach rate isn't as high as Nintendo, because Nintendo's attachment rate for the Switch is ridiculous. But
to be fair, it's percentage based that we're talking about. Like, not as good is not the right way to phrase that.
For sure. But it is still pretty high for what you'd expect out of PlayStation first party. And so for them talking about how much money they plan to invest in more PlayStation exclusives over the next year, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm very curious to see how that actually pans out, because there was a quote floating around last week from, I believe it was Jim Ryan, or it was either Jim Ryan or Herman Hulst. One of them were talking about how this next gen they plan to have even more PlayStation exclusives than the previous gen, which is wild to think about given how many exclusives we got during the PS4 generation. But it makes sense for one, how successful a strategy that's been for them so far, and then two, how competition is increasing, where now you have Xbox buying Bethesda and Xbox Game Pass and all this different stuff. It seems like that race between these big console manufacturers is getting heavy, and PlayStation is planning to make some big moves in reaction to that.
Yeah, and I mean, with that, I was trying to look into it about like $183 million into PlayStation exclusives over the next year. What does that mean? Like, what does $180 million actually look like in game budget? And it's actually pretty hard to find budgeted video games, but I looked up Last of Us 2 and I got from Bloomberg, they're saying that it was around 100 million. So there are very few games as high budget as Last of Us 2, right? Like, obviously there's exceptions, GTA 5, et cetera, but Last of Us 2 is a AAA Sony title to the utmost, and that's 100 million. 183 million, that's almost 2 Last of Us 2s.
Yeah.
But what does that mean for how many Ratchet and Clanks is that? Right? How many Horizons could that be? How many Returnals, even more so? And what is the kind of breakdown of what that could potentially look like, bolstering the already epic lineup that PlayStation has and has been building? Like, I have said a million times, and I will continue to say that the PlayStation 5 reveal event where they announced Gran Turismo and Ratchet and Clank and Miles Morales and Horizon and all that stuff, like that was insane. And
oh yeah,
people like kind of looked at it as like, oh, like whatever, like we expected that. We expected to get answers to all of like sequels to all of the games. Like,
yeah, I mean, remember that's
insane.
where Miles Morales was too, and that's something that we weren't expecting. Like they went
And
pretty much above and beyond during that presentation.
And then months later, they followed that up with the God of War and Ragnarok and Final Fantasy 16 and all these other things, in addition to newer IP and like partnerships like Project Athia, which is now called, don't tell me,
you got it?
Forsaken, motherfuckers, I got it. But anyways,
Forspoken.
Fuck.
Yeah.
No.
You're almost there.
One day.
It's a weird ass name.
Yeah, it is. That's really funny. But you see what I'm saying, though? Like, there is a lot there that we know is happening. And it's easy to be like, well, obviously those things are happening. It isn't obvious until they say it. You know what I mean? It's like things could not actually come out. I wouldn't believe Metroid Prime 4 is ever coming out, ever, if they hadn't announced Metroid Prime 4 officially. And even now there's a question. You know what I mean? But it's like, at least it's like, okay, cool. Nintendo is like counting this as a thing. Unlike some other franchises where if there was never an F-Zero again, I wouldn't be shocked. Until one's announced, it's not like, oh yeah, of course one day they're going to bring it back. Whereas with PlayStation, they put their cards on the table for a lot of things. But then there's a whole lot of question marks. And a whole lot of question marks that can be answered with an additional $183 million. 2 Last of Us Part 2s almost. That's insane.
Yeah. And to bring it back, right? The number I was trying to bring up earlier was from GamesIndustry.biz, where they wrote, and this is part of the same article that I read before, but I pared down. Sony sold 338.9 million games in the past year across the 2 consoles, being PS4 and PS5, up from 276.1 million in the previous year. Of these, 58.4 million were first party. 58.4 million out of 338.9 million games being sold from the 2 consoles were first party, which is a ridiculous number. And to bring it back to where we're at now, we've been having conversations a lot this year on PS I Love You and KFGD and across multiple podcasts about, all right, what is PlayStation doing, especially from the first party side, when it was reported about the San Diego PlayStation studio, about like what they're doing with a Last of Us remake that was brought in-house to Naughty Dog. When we talk about Sony Bend and how it seems like they were brought in to help out with Naughty Dog for a new Uncharted alongside the multiplayer project that they're working on at Naughty Dog, and not being greenlit for Days Gone 2, the conversation became one about, is PlayStation focusing in on first parties in a way that is stifling like new ideas and stifling the individuality of these different studios? Like, is it a bad thing that Days Gone 2 didn't get greenlit? Is it a bad thing, or what does it speak to to PlayStation first party in a bad way, that it seems like if a new studio under their umbrella wants to make a new game, it has to be something like Last of Us Remake? What does that say about PlayStation first party? And seeing the announcements we've gotten over the last couple of months of Haven Studio from Jade Raymond working on a new PlayStation IP, the studio, which name I can't remember from the last week, that's working on a multiplayer game with former Destiny devs, and this news story about how they're putting in more money to get more exclusives in, right? Like, I think there's something there in terms of the strategy being, all right, PlayStation, big budget, first party studios are going to make basically what is our Nintendo lineup. All right, Naughty Dog is going to work on Last of Us, which is going to be Mario, right? Like, Sucker Punch is going to work on Ghost of Tsushima, which is going to be Zelda, right? And these are definitely not 1-for-1 analogs in any way, but you know what I mean. What you're saying. The tent poles. We're going to have our big first party studios, our big budget first party studios work on our tent poles, and that doesn't mean we're not going to have our weird shit too, because for our weird shit, we're going to reach out to devs like Housemarque and partner with them and have them make Returnal. We're going to partner with devs like the Bugsnax devs and have them make Bugsnax exclusive for PlayStation and have that marketed as an exclusive. We're gonna have the Maquette folks work on Maquette to make it a PlayStation PS Plus title. We're gonna have Haven Studios work on that. I think that is a fascinating strategy for them, and I think there's a lot of validity there in terms of what that's going to do for the PlayStation library and the library of exclusives. And I think it comes back to the fact that when you look at the sales of PlayStation first-party titles, there's magic there. People are showing up for those titles, and those are selling PlayStations.
It's not just sales, it's reviews, and it's the gamers' reception as well, right? Like, we all love those games. We love those titles. And I think that there's a doom and gloom story you can paint about it all, but I'm totally with you, Bless, where I am not worried whatsoever, because until they stop delivering the hits, there's nothing really to worry about. I think that to kind of continue on from your take about them turning more into like Nintendo, I do think that at some point, many of the first-party teams, especially the bigger dogs at PlayStation, are going to split into multiple development teams, similar to how Nintendo's structured, and they have their multiple EAD teams and stuff. So already with Insomniac, they clearly have multiple teams working on Miles Morales and Ratchet and Clank and so on and so forth. With Naughty Dog, it's like we've seen that they have multiple teams as well. Last of Us and
you know, like there's like
there's
the inside jokes about in PlayStation about how that San Diego studio was being jokingly called Naughty Dog South. But like, I wouldn't be surprised if that didn't become a joke anymore. And they're like, "Fuck, man, we're just gonna make you a Naughty Dog team, and you're gonna work on Naughty Dog remakes." You know, like there's stuff there.
The reality of that is that's going to upset a lot of people, and a lot of people didn't sign up for that, and a lot of people, you know, devs and everyone else on the team, everything, right? Like, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Period. Obviously, every choice that somebody makes is going to have a adverse effect on somebody else. That's just how this goes. But I think that they're making good decisions, and personally, they're decisions that speak to me as a gamer and things that I want more of. I would love if we could up the quantity of these PlayStation titles. And honestly, at that point, I'm just being greedy because they're already there. But I would love if we can get big tentpole experiences annually. Maybe not I don't need a Last of Us every year. That's not what I'm saying. But I would like a Last of Us and a Uncharted, you know what I mean? And a new IP as well. Like, and that's the thing too, is what's so funny about the argument I hear about people like, well, like, it's just sequels. It's like, well, Last of Us is just part 2. Like, it was just a new IP.
Yeah.
And
well,
then all
that's
of a
the
sudden,
thing.
it got a sequel.
Like that. I think that perfectly feeds into what the strategy could end up being, where, you're not getting a big tentpole Last of Us every single year. There are 7 years between Last of Us and Last of Us Part 2. But what if over the next 7 years, we just got the Last of Us Part 2 last year? What if, okay, cool, within these 7 years, we're going to get Last of Us multiplayer, Last of Us remake, a Last of Us TV show, a Last of Us mobile game, and those are giving us our that scratch of the Last of Us itch that we're gonna have while waiting for whatever the Last of Us Part 3 is. You know, I think there's validity there, and it makes sense from hey, as PlayStation first party, let's focus on fewer IP names, but focus on expanding those IP in the same way that you have Mario having Mario Party and Mario Kart and Mario Golf. And, you know, Nintendo does a really good job of keeping their IP alive through all these different types of iterations. I think again, not one for one, but I think there's something there in terms of building up your biggest IP to be something that are household names and continue to feed into the synergy, so that Last of Us Part 3 sells way more than Last of Us Part 2 even did.
Absolutely. Kev, check Slack real quick. But Bless, Last of Us 2, what would that lead into? Potentially a Last of Us 3?
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that it would lead right into story number 4. The Last of Us Part 3 has a plot, but it's not being made yet. This is from Joe Skrebels at IGN. Naughty Dog has written a story outline for The Last of Us Part 3, but isn't making the sequel right now. Creative director Neil Druckmann says he hopes it can, quote, one day see the light of day, end quote. Speaking on an episode of the Script Apart podcast about the writing of The Last of Us Part 2, Druckmann touched briefly on the possibility of a sequel. Quote, I don't know how much I want to reveal. Co-writer Holly Gross and I did write an outline for a story that we're not making, but I hope one day can see the light of day. That explores a little bit of what happens after this game. We'll see, end quote. Druckmann says there's been quite a bit of discussion internally about a Part 3, but pointed out how much work is involved in making a game like this a reality. Quote, these games take so much to make. Part 2, I've been thinking about for 7 years between when The Last of Us between when the last game came out and when this game came out. You want to make sure you're jazzed by the idea that you have, that it feels like it's challenging. Quote, we've now had 2 games that I feel speak to something universal as well as telling a very personal story for these characters. With 1 game, there's no pattern of what a franchise is. With 2 games, now there's starting to be a pattern. Now I feel like there are some structural and thematic themes you'd have to stick to if you're making a 3rd game, end quote. This is
Motherfucker
cool.
gets it, man. It's super cool, but I this last bit here about with 2 games, they're starting to become a pattern. It's like clearly Druckmann knows how to tell stories, and him partnering obviously with Hallie is awesome. I loved the story of Last of Us Part 2, and I would love a Last of Us Part 3, especially if it's this team working on it and whoever they choose to bring on for the next one, because I trust in their vision. I have no reason to not trust in it. But I also love that the reason I trust them and the work that Naughty Dog does is they understand what they have, and they understand the expectations that we have of what a 3rd title in this franchise would look like. They also understand what a new IP would look like. So they're going to make the right choice. I fully have faith that whatever it is they put out next is going to be incredible, whether it's Last of Us 3 or something else. But I do love personally that Last of Us 3 exists in some form, and that a story is being thought about and has at least some type of skeleton currently.
Yeah. No, and I'm right there with you. Them talking about how with a second game there becomes a theme, right? There becomes a structure. It becomes a thing of Last of Us Part 3 has to fit in that family that is the Last of Us series. I think that's a very fascinating way to look at it. And again, I think it speaks to the fact that Naughty Dog is very good at what they do. They're very good at creating narratives that feel meaningful, that feel like that feels like there's been a lot of work put in, that feels like they're expanding on a world and are expanding on themes and ideas and all this stuff. And I don't think a Last of Us Part 3 for Naughty Dog was ever a given. I wouldn't be surprised if The Last of Us Part 2 was the last Last of Us that we got as like a big mainline game from Naughty Dog. And I think part of me thinks that if that happened, then Sony would probably give The Last of Us to a different studio to work on and be a spinoff, The Last of Us, I don't know, man, New York or something like that. But them Neil Druckmann talking about how, yeah, like we've outlined it, we were thinking about it, we're talking about it, I think gets me excited for the fact that, hey, yeah, they're not done with it yet. They're not at a place yet where they're like, there's no more story left to tell in this world. Obviously there's story left to tell in this world, and let's go. Like, I'm down for it. I do hope they put out a new IP though before The Last of Us Part 3. I don't want Last of Us Part 3 right away. That's my big hope.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take whatever, honestly. It's like that, like I was saying, it's just like I trust them, and it's like I feel like I've seen a lot of criticism of people being like, oh, Naughty Dog games are all the same. I want to see them do something different. It's like what they do is great. Like, why? I don't understand the desire for people to be like, hey, you killed this? Do something totally different.
I'm one of those people though. Like
I don't get it though. It's like it's not like we get one of these 3rd-person action games that are super narrative driven with amazing voice acting or not just voice acting and all that stuff. It's not like there's a plentiful amount of them every which way. No, we don't.
We get them all the time from PlayStation.
But see, that is dumbing it down so much where like if you're really gonna make that argument about comparing Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us, it's like, come on. They're different. And if you're going to do that, then yeah, okay, we can count Assassin's Creed as that type of game too. We can count a whole bunch of games. We know what we're talking about. Naughty Dog games they're different. And I think things that are comparable to them are like the Tomb Raider franchise, right? Like that is the same type of game. We don't get that often. There's not that many of them. And it's like every single time a new one comes out, there's improvement. And it's like comparing Uncharted 1 to Last of Us Part 2 from any perspective, whether it's gameplay, performance, story, all of that stuff. It's just like night and day. And we're talking about 2007 to 2020. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 13 years.
Or 2019.
And over 13 years, it's like that's a long time, but also not that long of a time period. And between them, we got how many of those type of games? 20 max?
I mean, my thing is more so with Naughty Dog as a studio. I feel like they can get, and this is the smallest critique, because I'm going to say this and people are going to tear me apart for it, but I stand by it. I think they can get a bit formulaic with how they make their games. Last of Us Part 2, I got to a certain point in that game where I was like, I know exactly where this is gonna go. They're gonna look in the sky and there's gonna be a big building and we're making our way to that building over there. Cool. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get to the front door and it's gonna be blocked off by a thing, and so we're gonna have to climb around the building to get in there. Sweet. And by the time you get halfway through the game, there's a shift in The Last of Us Part 2, and even though I was enjoying myself, even though I was having a blast in the game, part of me was like, cool, I'm gonna have to do pretty much I'm pretty much playing 2 Naughty Dog games in this one game, and I know the motions that I'm going through in this game.
That is absolutely true. Having said that, what game isn't formulaic at some point?
For sure.
The only example of that of things that aren't formulaic at some point are when the goal of them is to not be formulaic, which is a formula in and of itself. Like there's a reason we like these things. It's like it's a valid critique, and of course there's a lot to criticize about Naughty Dog games and those style of games. But it's just like that's like being like, oh man, Mario Odyssey, I knew exactly what I was doing. Yeah, and it was fun as shit.
But I mean, if we're gonna make the Nintendo comparison, like for me, it's like look at Zelda. Zelda games were very formulaic for a long time. You know, like from Ocarina of Time all the way up to Skyward Sword, you knew what you're getting from a 3D Zelda game. You're gonna go dungeon to dungeon. You're gonna eventually unlock a hook shot. You're gonna unlock pretty much the standard items that you're always gonna unlock. And by the time you get to the end of the game, it's like cool. I played another Zelda game, and that was awesome because Zelda games are awesome. You know, like they get 10s all the time. Like you know what a Zelda game is, and they're usually masterpieces. But for me, Breath of the Wild was something special because it fucked with that formula a lot and made something that felt so innovative and new. And for Naughty Dog, like Naughty Dog games do have a lot that are fresh in them because there is so much time between Naughty Dog games, especially nowadays. Like Uncharted 1 through 3, there was a lot of similarities in those games because they came out during the same console generation. They're part of the same franchise, all this stuff. But since then, I do feel like we've gotten a lot of improvement over the course of the Naughty Dog game releases. But
which is not true for Zelda.
True. Yes, not as true for Zelda, but I would like to see Naughty Dog do something that is different, and that maybe that could just be a new IP. Maybe a new IP alone would fix that for me. But if you're gonna do another Last of Us, I feel like you got to do something that is just from a gameplay perspective. Either open it up even more, maybe make it open world, which I know a lot of people are gonna be like, fuck no.
Understand this. If we like The Last of Us, I want more better Last of Us.
But I played The Last of Us is my thing.
Know,
if I want The Last of Us, I'll play The Last of Us.
I know, but like that again is dumbing down the argument where it's like, of course it's good. I want bigger and better. And that's a Last of Us 2 compared to Last of Us 1. I want a Last of Us 3 that is similar in jump. And it's like, keep going down that path. But at the end of the day, Bless, you're right. Of like, yes, I want a Naughty Dog Breath of the Wild type experience.
Yeah. And this isn't me necessarily saying make it open world. That's just me saying that's just me saying do something different. I don't think I'd want actually an open world Last of Us game.
Yeah, but it's just I want more of these type of games, and we don't get enough of them.
Tim, we got a special guest we're about to bring into KFGD, but before we actually do, I want to tell you about our sponsors. Of course, you can go to patreon.com/kindafunnygames where you can get the show ad-free. And speaking of ads, this episode of Kinda Funny Games Daily is brought to you by Dr. Squatch. Okay, real talk here. That soap or body wash you're using, it's crap. It's crappity crap. Just throw it out. Don't use it. Let me tell you about this thing called Dr. Squatch soap. It's packed, or your soap that you're using right now is packed with harsh chemicals, synthetic detergents, and it's brutal on your skin. If you're ready to step up your game to soap that's natural, great for your skin, and doesn't smell like a middle school locker room, Dr. Squatch is where it's at. Dr. Squatch is changing the way men approach hygiene with their natural personal care products that make you feel like a man and smell like a champion. All of Dr. Squatch's soaps are made in the USA using the finest ingredients nature has to offer. That means natural cleansers and nourishing ingredients that are actually great for your skin. Dr. Squatch's soaps come in a huge range of natural, manly scents that are going to transform your shower. Whether it's their best-selling pine tar or scents like bay rum and cedar citrus, you're never going to have a boring shower again. My first shower experience with Dr. Squatch can only be described as heavenly. It was very good. It was heavenly. The grapefruit IPA scent is to die for. If you really want to make it easy on yourself, you can also subscribe to the Dr. Squatch, just like the hundreds of thousands of other guys out there. Every month, fresh bars of Squatch show up at your door. It's super easy. They've also got a full lineup of personal care goods like deodorant, hair care, and toothpaste. Right now, new customers can get 20% off on orders of $20 or more when they go to drsquatch.com and enter code DSCKFGD. That's drsquatch.com, code DSCKFGD for 20% off on orders of $20 or more. We're also brought to you by Final Fantasy VII Intergrade. Grab your weapons and join the resistance because Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade for PlayStation 5 is here June 10th. The shadowy Shinra Corporation is draining the planet's very life force, all for their own gain. The mercenary Cloud Strife teams up with Tifa, Barret, and Aerith to take Shinra down. Whether they succeed depends on you. We are so excited for Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. It's the definitive edition of the award-winning Final Fantasy VII Remake. Intergrade comes with so many expanded graphical gameplay and system enhancements. We're talking improved lighting, crispier backgrounds, more realistic textures. Intergrade brings the game's visuals to a whole new level. Plus, you can switch between graphics mode and performance mode depending on whether you want 4K or super smooth action with 60 frames per second. Plus, yes, there's also a plus, the game comes bundled with episode Intermission, a brand spanking new episode featuring Wu-Tai Ninja Yuffie. Yesterday, Greg called it the Wu-Tang Clan Ninja, and I can't get that out of my head. Yuffie
God.
as the main character, where she'll conspire, because Yuffie ain't nothing to mess with, where she'll conspire with Avalanche HQ to steal the ultimate material from the Shinra Electric Power Company. Pre-order Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade today by going to squex.link/remakekf. That is SQEX.link/remakekf. Now let me tell you about caviar. Looking or loving good food doesn't necessarily mean you are able to cook well. If you want a great meal but need a little help, let the restaurant come to you. Caviar can help. Caviar is the food delivery app for people that are into good food. They bring the best local restaurants directly to your doorstep. Other apps may have national chains, but Caviar keeps it local. Those hidden gems in your neighborhood, they're on Caviar. Caviar curates local options for every taste, whether it's the perfect Reuben from the sandwich shop or the best Indian vegan curry. You always have options for whatever you want. Not sure what to eat? Not sure what you want to eat? Let Caviar's staff picks recommend the best spots in your neighborhood to find your new favorite. And just for our listeners, Caviar is offering $10 off an order of $20 or more. All you have to do is put in the offer code Kinda Funny at checkout. Remember, that's $10 off a purchase of $20 or more with the offer code Kinda Funny. Download the Caviar app and use code Kinda Funny, all one word. Last but not least, we're brought to you by Channel Fireball Box Breaks. Channel Fireball is a very big name in the collectible and trading card industries. Our new initiative, CFB Box Breaks, involves live streamed pack in box openings. People will purchase a group in a break. I'll use basketball as an example. Let's say you all buy in. Tim gets all the Cavalier cards, Greg gets all the Miami Heat cards, etc. And the break happens live on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. They stream breaks starting at 1 p.m. Tuesday to Thursday, 3 p.m. Friday and Saturday. There are also personal breaks. Let's say I buy an entire box of Pokemon cards and we open it live on stream before shipping me the contents. Each stream also builds to a premium break. These are usually spicier or more expensive breaks with big hits in them. For example, this Saturday, they're breaking a box of revised Magic the Gathering. Each booster pack is $500 and there are cards worth over $1,000 you can open in there. Box breaks are a fun way to get your hands on collectible cards, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, Flesh and Blood, sports cards, and more. I just love Flesh and Blood. I never heard of that, but I imagine that it's really hardcore. They're running an awesome deal on Battle Styles, the hottest new Pokemon set right now, and you can get a box cheaper with CFB Box Breaks than anywhere else. So head to cfbboxbreaks.com and make sure you use the code Kinda Funny so they know we sent you and get 5% off your first break. Back to the show. Tim,
Yes.
we're introducing a special guest.
A very, very special guest. The man's name is Cameron Hawkins. Kev's trying to get it all looking pretty and stuff. But while he does that, Cam, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you two doing?
I'm doing real good.
Doing
Thank you
good,
for
man.
putting up with the technical issues we were having going into this. For some reason, the Discord invites weren't working for him, but we got him in here now for one very specific reason. Cam, yesterday I was on Twitter. I was scrolling. I was perusing as I normally do, and I saw you talking about what you're calling already the game of the year 2021. And there was I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, I don't know. I've never even heard of this shit. I don't know. And then I started looking at the video and I was like, oh damn, there's something special here. So Kev, can you bring up the video, and then Cam, can you please pitch us? This is what I'm calling the Cam Hawkins hype check.
Oh, awesome. Oh yeah. So this is a game called Lost Soul Aside, and it originally was announced in August of 2016. Just the creator Yang Bing like released like a 6-minute trailer of gameplay, and it was all made by him. He just like, this is a game I'm making, and it got enough buzz that PlayStation got word of it, and they were like, we want to help you make this game. And that's how they PlayStation started what many people might know now as the China Hero Project, where they basically take on Japanese, like, not Japanese, but Chinese developers and help them make their games. So they are like directly helping with the budget of this game. And the thing that's like kind of cool about it for in the sense of accessibility to this game is that it is going to come out as a PlayStation 4 exclusive, but it is a timed exclusive. Like, I think it's 1 year, and then once that happens, it can come to like Xbox. I don't know if I've heard that it might release on PC, but I haven't heard anywhere official about that. So as far as I'm aware, it's only coming out on PlayStation at launch. And we, once it was announced, I was like, this is one of my most anticipated games. Like, at the time, I was still waiting for Kingdom Hearts 3, but once Kingdom Hearts 3 dropped, I was like, this is it. This is my most anticipated title. And I, for the longest time, I was on Twitter, like, trying to hype people about this game. I was telling people, like, I was drafting this game on our like fantasy leagues, and people were like, "What's this game?" I'm like, and I just share them the video, and like, that ain't coming out this year. That's like their excuse. It just looks beautiful. Like, the combat is it's like a mixture of like Devil May Cry, Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy, which it is a Final Fantasy inspired title.
Yeah, the art style looks very Final Fantasy. The characters look very Final Fantasy. Looks
Final
like
Fantasy 15 specifically.
Yeah.
But then the combat does look like DMC a bit.
Yeah,
which is really cool.
When the video first came out, people were like, "Oh, this looks like Final Fantasy 15," because it was shortly after Final Fantasy 15 came out. And then we didn't see anything for it until GDC 2018, where they released like kind of like a playable demo for people that were at the event. But since then, in the past 3 years, which they were already planning on doing, but they remodeled the characters. Like, if you look at the first trailer, and you look at the main character from there to now, looks completely different. Like, the hairstyle is the same, and like the dress, but like his actual face is completely redone. It's all made in Unreal Engine 4. It really just looks incredible. It keeps getting better and better. I even though like the game looks a little bit different from what we see here in this 18-minute trailer video, check out the original trailer, because like that, I still watch that trailer like every once in a while just to feel something, because it gives you chills. It's just gorgeous. Another cool thing about it is that Cody Matthew Johnson, who did the music for Devil May Cry 5, Resident Evil 2,
shit.
He's doing the music for this game. So there's a notable composer doing the music for this game as well. Like, this game just needs to stop being under the radar. Like, get this on the hype level. This game is going to be one of the best games that's gonna come out this year. And I like 100% think it's coming out this year, because Yang Bing did say last year that he really wanted it to release it last year, but with COVID he couldn't. So I definitely think this is coming out this year. I don't know when, but it's definitely coming.
I'm looking at an IGN article right now, written by Rishi Alwani. This is IGN India specifically, where they have a whole article breaking down everything we know about Lost Soul Aside, and they talk about how while we're yet to get a release date when this trailer landed, I believe this is the trailer we're looking at, it's safe to say that we'll get more details at the China PlayStation Press Conference 2021 on April 29th. And I don't know how time zones work with that, and so I don't know if that is today, but we might get a release date sooner than later, it sounds like.
Man, this looks utterly incredible. So the game is called Lost Souls Aside.
Lost Soul aside.
Lost Soul Aside. All right.
Yeah, and it's also
Need to
coming to
work on
PS5
that.
and
But man,
PC. They do confirm PC here.
oh, that's good. Kev, can you skip forward a little bit too? Because there's some like traversal stuff about halfway through.
Yeah. So the newest thing that they introduced in here that was not a part of the original trailer is that like you can use the dragon. The dragon can transform into like a skateboard, like a board, and you can ride it. Yeah, like this. It doesn't look super great if I'm being completely honest with you, just because I don't know if there's like more animation when he actually moves. I don't know if they're just like letting him go down the road like idly, you know what I mean? But it's still like, wow, like I never thought this game would have this, but then it just continues to surprise me.
It's like
it
flying
just
skateboard.
Yeah,
hoverboards.
it just has,
They got a
It's a
hoverboard.
dragon.
yeah, and it just has so much variety in like what in its gameplay from what I've seen from just
Good
this game.
lord, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
From the
Anyways,
ga-
all right, Cam, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people follow you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at CamFinalMix, and I stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/CamFinalMix.
There you go, man. I appreciate you coming through for this, and thank you for introducing us to this. I hope it comes out this year. I have a little less faith than you seem to, but I do want to give a shout out to these Chinese developers kind of coming out of nowhere.
Big games are coming out of China. There's Black Myth Wukong, which we talked about before. There's another game that reminds me of Nier that I cannot remember the name of to save my life. But the games that the big AAA, quadruple A games that we've been seeing show up a lot over the last couple of years have looked ridiculous, and I can't wait for them to come out because I wonder if they're gonna hit in the West as much as it seems like they're probably gonna hit over there.
Yeah,
Cameron, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, man. See you later.
Yep, see ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right,
That
let's
looks fucking
talk.
rad, right, Bless?
Yeah, that looks insane. That looks awesome. Let's talk about story number 5, Tim. All right, we talked a lot about PlayStation revenue. Oh wait, we got a special guest here before I even get into story number 5. Do you want to say anything, special guest, or are you here on accident?
I'm here on purpose, Blessing.
Okay.
All right. I want you to know
great.
that yesterday I did. Tim, I need you to zip it. All right. I need you to zip
Wu-Tang?
it. It is about Wu-Tang. I didn't say Wu-Tang yesterday. All right. Now, did I call the one? Did I call the one sponsor by the wrong name and have to re-record the ad? Yes, I did, ladies and
Dr.
gentlemen.
Squanch?
Thank you for calling it out in the Twitch chat. Thank you for calling it out in your own.
I was gonna come in and see if I could correct you. I thought you were doing it on purpose, though.
Frog Knight Joshy G said he said Wu-Tay. See, Wu-Tay is different than Wu-Tang, all right? Because Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with, Blessing. I'm surprised you forgot about that.
Well, no, I didn't say it because I didn't want to say the F word during a Final Fantasy sponsor.
They would have loved it. You said
Also,
shit
I love that
during
we're sponsored by Final Fantasy. I haven't brought that up, but that's so freaking cool. But
I like yesterday, people were like, man, is this a conflict of interest? I'm like, well, we host the Final Fantasy event and they know that we can talk shit if we want. And I'm like, also, didn't we say it was game of the year before? Like, I think we were pretty clear on liking Final Fantasy 7. I'm not expecting Intergrade to be terrible. But
What if we were
again,
pretending for
if it
last
is
year?
terrible, we're going to be allowed to
We'll
say it's
tell you.
terrible because we would
Yeah.
never partner with somebody who would say, hey, don't talk about this because whatever. You know what I mean? All right. Have a great show, guys.
hell yeah.
I liked having Cam on. That was cool.
That was fun.
Let's talk about story
the
number
host
5.
of E3, taking time out of his busy day to come talk to us peons.
Story number 5, let's get back to revenue. Microsoft's gaming division just had the best January through March quarter ever. This is Rebekah Valentine at IGN. Microsoft's gaming division just had its best Q3 ever, not only thanks to ongoing sales of the Xbox Series S and X, but also in no small part due to them basically tacking on an entire extra company onto their revenue for the last 3 weeks of the quarter. In its earnings today, Microsoft reported gaming revenue was up 50% year over year, jumping from $2.35 billion for the same period last year, up to $3.53 billion this year. It's not a record quarter overall, as Microsoft's gaming revenues for October through December of last year spiked past $5 billion for the first time ever during that 3-month period, thanks to the new console launch. But it is a record for the January through March quarter, which is traditionally more of a quiet one for gaming companies following the busy holiday sales season of big new releases. Hardware was far from the only culprit in Microsoft's excellent gaming quarter. Xbox content and services revenue, aka software, Game Pass, and basically everything that isn't hardware rose $739 million, or 34%, which Microsoft attributes to, well, everything in that category, both first and third party software and Game Pass revenue. Baked into that content and services revenue, though, is a new factor this quarter, Bethesda and ZeniMax. Microsoft officially completed its acquisition of ZeniMax in March, meaning the company's revenue in the final 3 weeks of the quarter was lumped into everything else Xbox gaming. It's unfortunately impossible to tell what impact this actually had on Microsoft's revenue numbers, as ZeniMax was not a publicly traded company before and did not disclose its actual quarterly or annual revenues prior to the acquisition. But it's very likely that the rise in content revenue was at least somewhat helped by the company suddenly adding a bunch of extra game sales to its balance sheet. The full impact may end up being more evident in future quarters when major new games launch out of ZeniMax's portfolio. Tim,
It's going to be a crazy couple years coming up, man. Like across the board, right? Switch sales through the roof. Xbox sales, money. PlayStation, we just talked all about it. More money coming in, more money being invested, more quality games for us to be able to play. And that's what we can expect over this generation. And I'm so stoked about it. I truly believe that there is more potential, and I don't think this is a hot take. There's more potential this generation for like the Metacritic scores to be insane for more titles than ever before. Because I think that we're going to be getting high quality 90 plus titles from year one all the way through to the end of the console's life cycle, right? Like we were more prepared, ironically, for this generation transfer than ever before. And that's with COVID. That's with all these things where we're getting this seamless transition where we never saw a PlayStation that was right out the gate hitting with the sequels this early, right? PS1 to PS2, an argument can kind of be made, but even then, it did take till from that 2000 launch to like the end of 2001, really going into 2002, that we started getting a lot of the heavy hitters, the Metal Gear Solid 2s, GTA 3, et cetera, everything that made the PlayStation 2 what it became. But looking at the PS5, it's like, oh damn, we're already seeing all the fruits of the labor that the PS4 had just continue. There was no momentum lost, right? Ratchet and Clank is coming out. And even between that, there was the gap bridge, the bridging of the gap of Miles Morales that was last gen and this gen, right? Xbox, all the ZeniMax stuff, all the Bethesda stuff, all the first party acquisitions that they've made, we're going to start seeing those titles. Maybe not first year, but hopefully next year we'll start seeing all that. Switch, same story, right? Like from 2017 on, we've just had banger. And even years like last year that are maybe not full of quantity of these games, we still got things like Animal Crossing. We still got, great games, like even smaller things like Hades and stuff. We're in for something really special. I can't wait to see where this all goes. And I can't wait even more so to be at the end of this generation, hopefully sitting here talking to you, Bless. You'll probably be a robot for some reason by that point.
Oh, no.
Terrible accident.
Oh, yeah. Actually, that sounds kind
accident.
of awesome. I would be down. Be like Cyborg. What does Cyborg say? Booyah? Booyah. I'll be saying that.
He does say that. But yeah, I think we'll be looking back. And when we're talking about top 10 games of the generation, I think it's going to be the hardest conversation we've ever had with that question.
Yeah, I think you pretty much answered the question that we got here from Suck Sandwich on Patreon, because they wrote in
Suck Sandwich
wrote in. Yeah, he said, good morning, Bless and Tim. The PS5 has now outsold the PS4 in its fiscal year, and it's also the fastest selling console ever in the US. My question is, do these milestones really matter anymore? Gaming isn't a niche hobby. It once was, and I see more people collectively excited about these next-gen consoles than just about anything else short of a new Marvel movie. The point is, the hype and demand for these consoles is just going to keep escalating and compounding as time goes on because more people are out there playing games. So are these sales numbers really that record-breaking? And to Suck Sandwich, like, Tim, you just answered the question, and I think Suck Sandwich answers their question a little bit also. I think these numbers are important, and it does matter that they're milestones because it is showing for growth over the entire industry, right? Like, these aren't numbers that I think speak to, like, hey, PlayStation is doing it bigger than Microsoft or vice versa, or Nintendo's got the formula right now, right? Like, I don't think these are numbers for us to look at and be like, they're doing anything specifically that are like this is a weird point because I think they are actually like each of these companies are putting in moves to that speak to these numbers, but I think overall we are seeing the industry have a growth, and that is not always a guaranteed thing. You know, I remember the beginning of the PS4 generation, PS4 Xbox One generation, where reading IGN, reading different sites, there was the talk of, is console gaming about to be over, right? Is PC going to take over? It is not always a guaranteed thing that the industry is going to see growth. And I think these numbers do speak to overall growth in the industry. And that's probably the biggest thing. And that's going to speak to games that we get in the future, and probably the quality and level of first party releases and third party releases and all that stuff. Like overall, these numbers are pretty big. And I think they're valuable to look at from that perspective.
I mean, dude, I think you nailed it. And I think that it's both. I think that it is just the industry is at a place. And I think that, COVID does have some part to play in that, of more people being at home, coming back to gaming for the first time, starting gaming for the first time. And I think that all the moves that each of the big dogs are making kind of play into each other, into this ecosystem of gaming as a whole, which just, it's all about kind of like available audience, right? And if gaming as a whole is bigger, that means that PlayStation's audience is bigger, and Xbox's audience, and Nintendo's audience individually.
Yeah.
And if you played Animal Crossing last year for the first time, that was your first game, that is a gateway drug into other experiences. How easy would it be for them to be like, oh, Game Pass is just a subscription service that I can get on my phone? I'm going to try that. And then next thing you know, 2 years down the line, these are people watching E3 hyped when Elder Scrolls 6 is officially shown off. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's how this happens. Like, gamers are being born every day. but like, jokes aside,
scary thought.
It is a scary thought. But no, it's like I think that there is a power in, and I've been saying this since we've been gearing up into this next gen launch. PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo have never been doing more different things successfully. And that is what is fantastic for the industry, where we have Nintendo being Nintendo, we have PlayStation tripling down on AAA exclusives, and we have Microsoft completely from a foundational level trying to just be the best value possible. And all of those things create an environment to allow more great video games to be made and enjoyed, and for more developers to be properly funded in different ways because there's different revenue streams. It's just all good. And I do think that these records number because records matter and numbers matter because records are records. These are breaking records. And while it kind of gets a little old to be like, well, the Switch sold more, Animal Crossing sold more, PlayStation sold more. It's like, well, they're selling more than ever. Like, and Mr. Suck Sandwich here brings up Marvel movies. I mean, Marvel movies didn't always make $1 billion. Now they do. And now there's an expectation that they do, which means that those movies can be bigger and better than ever. Like, there's a reason that Marvel movies can have every single A-list actor known to mankind in them. And that's because people care and there's investments properly being put into making good products that are going to grow over time. That's what Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo are all doing right now. And it's helping the industry as a whole.
Yeah, and you helped make the point that I was trying to make earlier, that all these companies are firing at all cylinders, which makes us go, oh, of course, these numbers are going to be higher than usual, especially given COVID-19 and what that's done for the spike of interest and all this stuff. But that's not always a given, and I think it's important for that. Let's move on to story number 6. I'm going to make we have 3 more news stories and we're far into the show. And so these are all going to be quick hits for you. And so let's start with our first quick hit. Story number 6, Aztech Forgotten Gods is getting a movie treatment. If you don't remember this game, this was a game that was part of a recent Nintendo's indie event. Basically, Impossible Dream Entertainment and Lienzo Gaming Studio have partnered for an Aztech live action movie. Of course, it's the Latinx themed. It's going to be a Latinx themed feature film based on the upcoming video game. And if you don't remember it, go check out Aztech Forgotten Gods, the trailer, because it looks like a really cool game. Tim, you know which one this is. Hell.
Oh yeah, that game looks awesome. Super excited for it. A movie being announced right now. It's like, all right, whatever. This is weird news, and they're just kind of a sign of where we're at. But again,
it's weird, but it's exciting though. Like, it speaks to the growth, right? Like,
absolutely,
in what world
man.
does this happen? Like, this does not happen often. You just announced a new indie game, and the story does point out that this partnership was in the works for a little bit, based off the success of Mulaka, one of their previous games. Which, one, I didn't realize that they were the ones that made Mulaka, and 2, super cool that based off of Mulaka, they are getting this partnership.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, like how cool is that?
Dude, it's fantastic. And, to not belabor the point here, I think it's really key to look at the Witcher series on Netflix, boosting game sales for The Witcher 3, a years old game. There's something there. When Last of Us comes out on HBO, Last of Us is going to, like you said earlier in the show, become a success on a whole new level and become a IP that matters not just as a video game, but as a cultural phenomenon. And while I don't think as Aztech Forgotten Gods is going to hit on that level, I hear this news and I'm actually like, this actually might happen. Whereas a couple of years ago, I would have been like, all right, cool.
Yeah, no one's
That's a fun
gonna make
headline
a
to read
movie.
on a show, but it's not actually going to happen.
Yeah. Our next quick hit for you, story number 7. Resident Evil Village's multiplayer mode has been delayed. This comes from Michael McWhertor at Polygon. Capcom's latest attempt to transform Resident Evil into a multiplayer game, the free bonus mode for Resident Evil Village, known as Resident Evil Reverse, has been delayed. If you remember, this is supposed to originally launch alongside Village in May, but now it's expected to launch sometime this summer, and that's according to the game's website. This one is whatever. I get, like, but it's not heartbreaking because I don't think anybody was like, "Fuck, Reverse is the thing." This is what I'm looking forward to at the launch of Resident Evil Village. But it's weird that it's getting delayed this close to launch. I feel like that's weird, but whatever. Take your time, I guess.
If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So
Take
I'm
your
gonna shut up.
time. Put it out when it's done. And then our last story number 8.
Sorry,
Or keep it to yourself.
Sorry.
Story number 8, DC Fandome is back. This is from DC Comics. They tweeted out this morning. The epic global event is back. Return to hashtag DC Fandome on, what's the 10th month? October? October 16th, 2021. I had to really think about that one. I was like, which one is 10? And I just threw October out there. Thank God I was right. Cool. You'll probably get more Suicide Squad, Gotham Knights news there. So look forward to that. But Tim,
it's weird news because like it never left. We haven't left the dome. It's a state of mind. Blessing.
oh shit, we're still in the dome.
We're still in the dome.
I'm very happy about this because I think this means the return of the Nug Dome, which I'm very excited about. But Tim, DC Fandome,
Wait, just so we're
is
clear,
so far away.
It doesn't mean anything about the Nug Dome. They're
Oh, yeah, it does.
unrelated.
Kevin,
No,
you
they're
don't
related.
understand how the dome works. You weren't in the dome. See, we're still in it. You're outside, Kevin. You're knocking on it, trying to get in, and it's a nice little dong 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 sound.
Yeah,
You're
'cause
hitting
it's a
real
dome,
hard, but it's making a little dong dong dong.
It's like the Truman Show.
You hear it? You hear
Whoa, is that the
Wes?
dome? Is that Kevin knocking on the dome?
It's getting real quiet. It was good a second ago.
Yeah.
Do it again, Kev. All right.
Tim,
He's so far away. Kevin
Our
is so
return-
far away. But if I wanted to know what was coming to mom and crop shops today, where would I look, Blessing?
oh, we would go to the official list of upcoming software across each and every platform, as listed by the game's Kinda Funny Games Daily Show hosts each and every weekday. Yeah.
Tim
Out.
could-
This is the one I want to say, Tim. This is our best episode of Kinda Funny Games Daily. Period.
Hands freaking
Period.
down. We had debate where both of us had good points, and it's like, okay, we're here.
Yeah.
We got the jokes. We bring in the vibes.
We got the
Kevin
energy.
outside the dome.
We got Kevin. We got Kim Hawkins.
We got Cam,
revealed
we got
again. Greg's hosting E3. Tim, or not Tim. Kevin, did you do the do? Did you do the yeah or the yeah?
You did it.
Yeah.
Did I do it? Okay.
Now we can continue.
Out today, we got Crime Opera. Sorry. I was not prepared for that name. Crime Opera.
Blessing, right now, there's some breaking news. Bo Burnham made a new comedy special.
Wait, did he really? Is it out
Yes, he
today?
fucking
When's it
did.
out?
I don't know. He just tweeted, I made a new special. It was filmed by me alone without a crew or audience over the course of the past year. It's almost finished. I hope you like it.
Oh, let's fucking
This is the
go.
best day
What a day.
ever.
This is an amazing day. Let's fucking go. We got Crime Opera, The Butterfly Effect out today for Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, and Switch. Second Extinction. Oh, that's the dinosaur game. That's coming out Xbox Series X/S, Xbox One. Ladders by Pogi. That's out today for Xbox Series X/S and Xbox One. Genshin Impact. That's out today on PS5. Semantically Muffed is out today on Xbox One. Taiwan Monster Fruit Prologue is out for Switch. Grisaya Phantom Trigger 01 to 05 is out for Switch. Car Demolition Clicker is out for Switch. And then Skeletal Avenger is out for PC. And then we only have one new date for you. Bo Burnham Special is out soon.
Yes.
Deals of the day for you. We do have PlayStation Plus games for May. They were revealed this morning. Battlefield 5 for PS4, Strained Deep for PS4, and Wreckfest Drive Hard for PS5. I love that. Wreckfest Drive Hard for PS5. They're gonna be your PlayStation Plus games for April. Tim, people can go over to kindafunny.com/you're wrong, where they write in, let us know what we got wrong as we got it wrong, so we can correct it for those watching
Who the
later
fuck has the
on
gall and the
youtube.com.
audacity to correct us today on this day of our Lord?
I mean, it's folks like Dave Rooney here who wrote in, hey, Bless, this news was missed. The new gameplay for Lost Soul aside, we talked about that, Dave Rooney. You can't write in about missed news until the news section is over. The Roper Report, you got to wait for the Roper Report to finish before you write about missed news. Callahan writes in with a good one, though, and says Second Extinction is on Game Pass. That's a good one. Thank you, Callahan.
Did you do the squad up? Did I miss
No,
it?
I skipped it because we're very far in the show. We can save it for tomorrow. And then the nanobiologist says, bless the studio you were thinking of that got announced last week was Firewalk Studios. That's the PlayStation 1 with the Destiny devs. Thank you. That is a good year.
Thank you, nanobiologist. That was good.
But that's about it. That is
Dave,
about it for you.
think about what you've done.
Think about what you've done. I want you, I'm sure you're driving right now. I want you to pull over your car. Just think about it for a second and then safely pull back onto the road and keep driving and have a good day at work, because I hope you have a good day. You know, I hope you're doing it out there, Dave. Tomorrow's hosts for Kinda Funny Games Daily are Greg and Tim. If you're watching this live on Twitch right now, after this is Andy Cortez playing what, Kevin?
A video game.
A video game. Of course, this has been Kinda Funny Games Daily, each and every weekday live right here on twitch.tv/KindaFunnyGames. We run you through the nerdy news you need to know about. We have a Patreon post show for those that are subbed at the silver level of patreon.com/KindaFunnyGames. Tim, is it another shit list? Yes, it is. For folks who've never heard the post show and wondering what shit list is, you got to tune into the post show.
No, I'm going to tell them. The shit list is where me and Blessing talk shit about other people's lists.
He's playing Near Replicant. That's what it is. Near Replicant.
Got it.
Near Replicant. There you go. Version, and that's actually not the full name, Kevin. Give me the full name.
Nope. Couldn't
right.
couldn't give you the name to save my life.
Stick around for the post show. Otherwise, until next time, game daily.